Over 2 million years ago, a new primate species appeared in the fossil record. It had no claws, no fangs, no speed. A small body, standing about 1.2 meters tall on average, weighing under 40 kilograms, an upright posture, but not yet fully developed. Its only weapon was accidentally broken stones. Its name was Homo habilis, handyman, the first species classified in the genus Homo. But in reality, it did not dominate its environment. Quite the opposite. It was prey. The world of Homo habilis was a harsh ecosystem. Leopards hunted at night. Crocodiles lurked underwater. Hyenas, lions, venomous snakes all posed direct threats. With limited mobility and crude tools, Homo habilis could not fight back. It survived by avoiding conflict. What allowed Homo habilis to endure was not muscle, but information processing. It began to recognize patterns. Where predator tracks were found, which plants were edible, which caves hid snakes, and which seasons required digging roots instead of foraging fruit. It learned, remembered, and gradually developed strategic survival habits. This trait, memory combined with observation, marked a pivotal evolutionary step. Individuals who shared information, signaled danger, or led others to safety had a higher chance of survival. This was the foundation of early cooperative behavior. Homo habilis didn't make sophisticated tools. It didn't hunt large animals, but it represented the shift from pure instinct to organized thinking, from reaction to planning, from solitary to social. For nearly 1 million years, Homo habilis survived by staying out of trouble. But that endurance laid the groundwork for something greater. A new generation that wouldn't run anymore. They would confront. And from that, Homo erectus emerged. Part 2, a discovery that shook the world. In 1891, on the island of Java, in Indonesia's tropical forests, Dutch anatomist Eugene Dubois discovered a fossilized human skull fragment, distinctly different from any modern ape. Nearby, a sturdy and straight femur indicated upright walking. Dubois named the find Pithecanthropus erectus, upright ape man, later reclassified as Homo erectus. At the time, the scientific community dismissed the discovery, not because of a lack of evidence, but due to prejudice. Many scholars still believed humanity must have originated in Asia, conveniently positioned between Europe and the Americas. Africa was dismissed, despite no data supporting that exclusion. Dubois was mocked. He lost credibility. When he died, his discovery remained unrecognized. But in the 1930s, at Zhoukoudian near Beijing, Chinese and international archaeologists excavated numerous ancient skulls with striking similarities to Java man. These fossils became known as Peking man, not a new species, but Homo erectus. The old assumptions collapsed. Solid evidence revealed that humans had lived in Asia at least 1.5 million years ago, far earlier than previously thought. Homo erectus was not an anomaly in Java. They were a major link in human evolution and the first proof that our ancestors weren't limited by continent. Java was only the beginning of a global journey. Art 3. The global empire of the upright man. Archaeological records show that Homo erectus appeared on at least 3 continents: Africa, Asia, and Europe. Their name is tied to critical archaeological sites: Java, Indonesia; Zhoukoudian, China; Dmanisi, Georgia; Atapuerca, Spain; Kubi Fora, Kenya; Trinil, Sanguiran, Lufeng, and many more. This makes Homo erectus the first human species with global distribution, far beyond the range of Homo habilis, which remained in East Africa. Their wide presence was no accident. According to classical evolutionary models, Homo erectus emerged in Africa about 2 million years ago and later migrated into Asia and Europe. However, fossils like those found in Dmanisi, with dates matching African samples, have raised an alternative theory. An early lineage may have originated in Eurasia and later moved back into Africa. Regardless of origin, data show that by around 1.9 million years ago, Homo erectus had settled in varied environments, from Southeast Asia's tropical forests to Europe's temperate zones. They didn't just migrate, they adapted. In Asia, they were smaller and lighter, suited to humid climates. In Africa, they were taller, with thick bones, built for long-distance pursuit. In Europe, they had larger skulls and robust faces adapted to colder conditions. Today, scientists recognize over 27 regional variants of Homo erectus, each reflecting local evolutionary responses to environmental conditions. No doubt remains, Homo erectus was the first global human species, mobile, resilient, diverse. Their vast range laid the foundation for an evolutionary success lasting nearly 2 million years. The next phase wasn't about avoiding predators anymore. Homo erectus began changing its place in the food chain. It became the hunter. Art 4. When humans began to hunt. Around 1.5 million years ago, Homo erectus assumed a new biological role, organized hunter. Archaeological evidence from sites like Kubifora and Illoret, Kenya, provides clear proof. Researchers uncovered large animal bones from pygmy elephants, rhinoceroses, wild horses bearing cut marks from stone tools, alongside ash layers and flaked stone debris. These traces don't align with scavenging behavior. They align with active, organized hunting. At Illoret, a fossilized sediment layer preserved 20 human footprints, all moving in the same direction, with similar foot sizes and strides. This is the earliest evidence of a group of adult Homo erectus moving together, likely a hunting party. By this point, humans were no longer hiding from predators. They actively approached large, dangerous animals, including hippos and crocodiles, which even apex predators avoided. This indicates a reversal in ecological roles, from prey to top predator. But Homo erectus had no speed, claws, or fangs. Their tools were still primitive. So how did they approach, control, and kill prey that was faster, larger, and more dangerous? The answer lies in 3 key factors: group cooperation, strategic tracking, and physical endurance. Homo erectus did not hunt alone. They coordinated in groups, encircled prey, exploited terrain, and relentlessly pursued their target until it collapsed from exhaustion. This organized hunting behavior marked a major turning point in human evolution, from passive survival to active environmental control through strategic thinking. The next part explores the biology behind this capability, a body optimized to chase prey to its very limits. Part 5, a body built for endurance. Persistence hunting is one of the most extraordinary hunting methods in nature. Homo erectus was the first human species to apply it effectively and consistently. Instead of ambushing, Homo erectus chose a different strategy, running prey into exhaustion. This required no peak speed, but demanded remarkable stamina, efficient heat dissipation, and superior physical endurance. Morphologically, Homo erectus had several traits that made this possible. Highly developed sweat glands, allowing more effective cooling than any known predator. Long, sturdy leg bones, reducing energy use per step and enhancing long-distance running. Thick Achilles tendons, providing the spring force needed to maintain steady pace. An S-shaped spine, stabilizing posture during running. Open chest structure, optimizing breathing during continuous movement. Dense bone structure, absorbing repetitive impacts over long durations. Altogether, this wasn't just a primate built for walking. It was a biological machine optimized for endurance hunting in high-heat conditions, something no large predator could sustain. Once prey was wounded, even with a minor cut from a well-thrown stone, the chase became a matter of time. Each minute meant blood loss. Each pause by the antelope was another step forward for Homo erectus. No complex weapons, no advanced tactics, just a body designed to win through persistence. This ability laid the groundwork for another monumental step: systematic tool making, explored in the next section. Part 6. Tools, Intelligence, and Strategy. Around 1.7 million years ago, Homo erectus began crafting tools not just for use, but as part of systematic problem-solving. This marked the rise of the Acheulean culture, a period of deliberate, structured, and specialized tool-making. Typical Acheulean tools included teardrop-shaped hand axes, symmetrically flaked on both sides, sharp-edged, designed for slicing hides, cutting meat, and extracting marrow. There were also scrapers, woodworking implements, and specialized blades for butchering animals. Unlike Homo habilis, who used random stone flakes, Homo erectus shaped tools with specific functions in mind. Creating such tools required more than manual skill. It required abstract thought and planning. Their average brain volume was about 1,030 centimeters cubed, around 80% of modern human capacity. Notably, Broca's area, linked to fine motor control and early language capability, showed significant development. At Schöningen, Germany, archaeologists discovered 2-meter-long wooden spears, symmetrically shaped, pointed tips, and balanced weight distribution near the grip. These are the earliest known weapons designed for accurate throwing from a safe distance, a behavior unseen in other predators. Tools reflect cognition, and cognition reflects society. The strong hunted, the young gathered, the elders processed meat, wood, and hides. This was no longer survival by individuals, but functional division of labor. Tool advancement wasn't just technological progress. It was the physical manifestation of an emerging intellectual system, paving the way for controlling fire and building sustainable communities. Part 7. The first to bring fire. Mastering fire was one of the greatest turning points in human evolution. Homo erectus was the first human species not only to know fire, but to maintain and eventually create it. Archaeological evidence from sites like Kubi Fora, Kenya, Gesher Benat Yaakov, Israel, and Swartkrans, South Africa, shows that Homo erectus used fire over 1.5 million years ago. Layers of sediment contain ash, charcoal, burned animal bones, and Acheulean tools, all found together in clear residential contexts. At first, fire likely came from natural sources, lightning strikes, wildfires. But the key difference was keeping the fire alive over time. Evidence shows they used dried dung for slow-burning fuel, built stone windbreaks, and maintained embers using smoldering wood, a level of fuel control never seen in other animals. By about 400,000 years ago, Homo erectus likely reached the ability to create fire through friction or striking stones. This marked the first time in animal history that a species could actively harness environmental energy. Fire did more than cook food. It lit up the night, kept predators away, provided warmth, dried and preserved meat, and helped care for the elderly, injured, and young. But its greatest gift was time. With fire, humans were no longer bound by the cycle of daylight. They could gather, share knowledge, observe each other's behavior, and develop the roots of structured communication. Many anthropologists believe symbolic thinking and early language may have emerged around the first fires. When Homo erectus mastered fire, they didn't just change their diet. They began to transform existence itself. Part 8. The first to build and sail. Archaeological evidence shows that Homo erectus no longer relied entirely on natural shelters. Around 1.7 million years ago at Olduvai Gorge, Tanzania, archaeologists discovered deliberately arranged stone circles, likely foundations of the first man-made structures. By 700,000 years ago in Europe, particularly in Germany, Homo erectus had set up camps near glacial rivers. In harsh cold, they crafted clothes from animal hides sewn with sinew and plant fibers. There's no evidence of retreat during colder seasons. Instead, they adapted and endured. But the most groundbreaking evidence of their organizational ability comes from an unexpected place, Flores Island, Indonesia. This island was never connected to the mainland. Even during the lowest sea levels on Flores, scientists found Homo erectus fossils along with typical stone tools. Their presence there can't be explained by drift or swimming. The only plausible explanation: they built rafts, crossed ocean currents, brought food and fresh water, and followed a planned route. This implies a high degree of social organization, weeks of preparation, task division, resource storage, and coordinated group travel. This is the first clear evidence of seafaring in human history. Homo erectus was no longer a wandering migrant. They settled strategically, moved with purpose, and expanded territory in an organized way. But like any evolutionary system, no matter how successful, survival still depended on one factor: adapting in time to change. The next section explains why a species that lasted nearly 2 million years ultimately disappeared. Art 9. Disappeared, not destroyed. Around 108,000 years ago, Homo erectus gradually vanished from their once dominant territories, from East Africa and Central Asia to Southeast Asia. Archaeological evidence suggests their final survivors lived in isolation on the island of Java, Indonesia, trapped in tropical forest environments. There is no evidence that Homo erectus was wiped out by war, pandemic, or sudden catastrophe. No mass trauma, no volcanic ash layers, no signs of instant extinction. They were not exterminated. They were replaced. The main cause: environmental change. As global climates became wetter, dry savannas, where Homo erectus thrived with their hunting, camps, and fire, were overtaken by forests. Large animals like pygmy elephants, giant tortoises, and wild horses, their primary food sources, began to disappear locally. In these new environments, dense, humid forests with slippery terrain and poor visibility, Homo erectus skills and tools became ineffective. Their heavy, crude stone tools weren't suited to dense vegetation. Wet wood made fire maintenance difficult, negating a key survival advantage. Endurance hunting became useless as prey became smaller, faster, and forest-bound. The last Homo erectus groups became geographically and culturally isolated. There's little evidence of contact with Homo sapiens or other human species. Over time, these small populations declined and vanished. Their extinction wasn't tragic, it was ecological misalignment. They didn't die because they were weak. They disappeared because they couldn't adapt fast enough to a changing world. The final part examines the legacy they left behind and what their fate teaches us today. Art 10. A living legacy, lessons from the past. Homo erectus was one of the longest-lived human species in evolutionary history, nearly 2 million years. When they disappeared, there were no signs of war or collapse, yet what they left behind continues to shape human history. They were the first to create purposefully designed tools, not random flakes. The symmetrical teardrop Acheulean hand axe is a symbol of intentional thinking. They built communal hunting grounds, leaving behind assemblages of bones, ash, and tools, evidence of cooperation, role division, and resource management. Fossilized footprints at Illirit, aligned direction, steady pace, are the earliest proof of organized group activity in human history. At Olduvai, fixed stone circles suggest deliberate shelters, the foundation of early architecture. At Flores, they left traces of humanity's first ocean voyage, demonstrating long-term planning, logistical organization, and spatial orientation. They controlled and maintained fire, extending the food chain, expanding daily activity, reducing death from cold or predators. More importantly, fire gave them stillness, a foundation for teaching, observing, and early communication. Homo erectus was not Homo sapiens, but they paved the way for Homo sapiens to thrive. And the greatest lesson from their extinction isn't about failure, it's about timing. They didn't disappear because they were weak. They vanished because they couldn't adapt fast enough. Despite their stable ecosystems and advanced techniques, they couldn't pivot when the environment changed too quickly. Today, Homo sapiens faces similar threats: climate change, resource crises, outpaced technology. With just 300,000 years of existence, are we repeating the path of Homo erectus? Is they left behind one final message, it would be, survival does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to those who adapt in time.